of this onboarding process. She's kind of got third or fourth iteration of it. So it's a little further along than last. Good school, huh? Yeah. It's good. How are you? Good.
This meeting will come to order. This is the Puyallup City Council meeting on Tuesday, February 6, 2024. I want to thank all of you for being here this evening. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Adler,
Present.
Councilmember Johnson,
Present.
Deputy Mayor King,
Present.
Councilmember Gilliam,
Present.
Councilmember Whitting,
Present.
Councilmember Dorr,
Present.
Mayor Castema.
Present. Thank you. At this time, I would like to acknowledge, we do excellent young people we have in attendance today. I do that because the fact is you are our future leaders. One of the council members to my right, Councilmember Lauren Adler, actually was a assistant of mine, a page in Olympia when I was a state senator. And now she went on to become president of Pierce College, the ASB president there, and went on to work for a congressman back in Washington, D.C., and has had quite an illustrious career. And it all started from where you're sitting right now. So I appreciate you're here. Would you like to stand up, say your name, and then maybe mention why you are here this evening? Go ahead.
My name is Trenton, and I'm part of the Scout program. We're here to do a great event. Thanks for having us be here.
Excellent.
I'm Trevor. I'm from Troop 505. We're all here for a merit badge.
Okay, thank you. Next.
I'm Aiden. I'm with Troop 505 as well, and I'm here with
Hello, I'm Taylor. Of Troop 505. We're here for the merit badge and here to learn. So thank you guys.
Excellent. Are you all from one school or many different schools? Great. Again, thank you very much for being here this evening. It means a tremendous amount to all of us. I'd like now to have approval of agenda, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve the agenda as presented before us. And before we get a second, could I just maybe offer a quick suggestion, Mr. Mayor?
Certainly.
I'd like to make a suggestion that if all goes well, we finish this meeting in about an hour. So there's a goal to shoot for. So anyway, I make a motion to approve the agenda as before us.
Okay,
Second.
fine. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll only say that hope springs eternal, so we shall give it a try. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'd like to now move on consideration of minutes. Do we have approval for January 9th, 2024?
Move
Move
approval.
approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We're now going to move on to reading a proclamation for Black History Month. And I would read it from this dais, except this microphone that I have here can't possibly reach up there. And I think could be kind of embarrassing to watch it fall off. So if you excuse that, I'd like to read this proclamation from where I'm at right now. This is a proclamation again on Black History Month and Puyallup's recognition of that very important recognition that we do in Puyallup, and I think recognized throughout the United States and England as one of the most important proclamations or recognitions to give. So I will proceed. Whereas, in observance of Black History Month, we recognize and celebrate that Black Americans helped shape our nation's identity in many wonderful and lasting ways. And whereas Black History Month first originated as part of an initiative by writer and educator Carter G. Woodson, who launched Black History Week in 1926 and proclaimed it should always occur in the second week of February between the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. And whereas in 1976, as part of the nation's bicentennial, Black History Week was expanded and became established as Black History Month, and is now celebrated all over North America and Great Britain. And whereas since our country's founding, countless Black Americans have achieved exceptional success in all aspects of our society, including business, education, politics, science, and the arts, and serve as an inspiration for fellow Americans of every race and ethnicity. And whereas we affirm the importance of Black history and honor all individuals who have stood up against prejudice, discrimination, and injustice. And whereas the city of Puyallup acknowledges and appreciates the Black members of our community who contribute to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas the Puyallup City Council is committed to cultivating and fostering a community of diversity and inclusion. And whereas Black History Month always allows us to shine a particular spotlight on achievements and the challenges, both past and present, of Black Americans while celebrating and expressing gratitude for the many positive impacts they have on our community. Now, therefore, I, Jim Castema, Mayor of the City of Puyallup, Washington, do hereby proclaim February 2024 as Black History Month. In the City of Puyallup, we recognize our Black residents who are valued and vital members of our community, and we pledge to continue working towards achieving a society that is just and prosperous for all. I, witness whereof, and I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Puyallup to be affixed this 6th day of February, 2024, signed Jim Castema, Mayor. So I believe this is worthy of an applause. With that, I would like to invite members of the community forward to receive this. I have one individual and that specifically has been asked to be called out to do so, a Michael Lemrick, who is a teaching advisor for the Puyallup High School Black Student Union. And Michael, if you would like to come to the podium and say a few words, feel free. And if others would like to come to the podium too and say a few words, you're more than welcome to do so. I will come down there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am one of the 3 advisors for Black Student Union, and we have a very healthy, hearty club that does great things at our school, including our work during Black History Month. This is Sigourney McWilson, one of our very best students at Puyallup High School, one of our officers. And I don't think either one of us thought we were speaking, but she represents a group of about 20 amazing students. We launched this club 3 years ago, right at the end of COVID. And I think for a lot of students, it was a chance to really claim the school in a positive way and have a positive impact on all the students in our community. And they're doing exactly that every day. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, I'll take a few. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, please have a photo moment. Yes, I'd love to be in it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I know every time.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Happy Black History Month, everybody. That's right.
Thank you for that. We'll now move on to citizen comments. Comments will be taken in order of those people who have identified on these orange sheets. If you would like to testify or give a public comment, please go ahead and fill one of those out. Our city clerk has them, and then he'll go ahead and get them to me. But prior to that taking place, I would like to have the city clerk, Dan Vessels, please go ahead and explain the guidelines of public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This part of the meeting is for general citizen comments. Please reserve any public hearing testimony to that section of the agenda. The mayor will call on those who have provided their names in advance. Then the mayor will call for other citizens who wish to speak. For the record, please state your name and address or city council district in which you reside. Please direct your comments to the council as a whole, not individual council members. All comments are limited to 3 minutes. The clerk will provide verbal notice when only 30 seconds remain. As a reminder, this portion of the meeting is council's opportunity to hear from the community and not a time to engage in debate. Lastly, per state law, this public comment period cannot be used to speak in support of or in opposition to a ballot measure or individual candidacy, and no such comments will be allowed.
Thank you. Our first citizen is Sean Manley, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I have the privilege of doing tours at the food bank on a regular basis. And during one of those tours with one of you recently, I was encouraged to use public comment to answer some of the questions that we often give during a tour. When we give these tours at the food bank, the first response that I hear from so many people is, I had no idea. I had no idea you serve the number of people that you do, the number of volunteers that you have, and a few other facts I'm going to share with you in 3 minutes. And here's what I'm going to tell you is that I'm not going to get all the way through my list today. So I'm going to keep coming back at council meetings so I can share some of the crazy things that are happening at the food bank and invite you down for a tour. So did you know that we are the largest volunteer organization in the city? That there is no other organization that has as many hours with as many volunteers that are working on a regular basis. We have more than 200 active volunteers every week, probably in the range of about 220 to 230. We have more than 300 volunteers that are on our roster. We have, for every staff hour, did you know that there are 2 volunteer hours that actually record? Not all of our volunteers record their time, but there are 2 hours approximately for every staff hour that's paid. Did you know that we serve over 65 families per service shift? We serve 4 times per week. And did you know that those families receive on average in excess of $1,000 worth of groceries each time they pick up? Did you know that we offer other services? We are not just a food bank. We are focused on holistic care for our neighbors. We have a specially trained care team. And did you know that care team is trained in mental health first aid, de-escalation, critical incident stress management? Did you know that we have the largest contingent of employees at a single organization that are Puyallup CERT trained? We took 5 of our volunteers and staff through that training this last spring. And we have a great relationship with the city. And I just want to give a shout out to Kristen Hoffman and the Emergency Services Department. Did you know that the city of Puyallup has a partnership with us that will allow us to respond if there are things that go beyond just your average day normal family crisis? We have a 100 kilowatt mobile power generator. Why would a food bank have a power generator? Because did you know that we're ready? That when things like remember the heat wave 3 years ago, and when there are power outages, when we have mobile AC units that we can actually do pop-up shelters and do food distribution, we're prepared for that. And we're continuing to prepare for that through our communications plan. How much stuff? Where's my clock at? I don't even know where your clock's. Where is it?
Yeah.
I don't even see it. I'm going to.
38 seconds.
Oh, thank you. No, it's not on my screen. Oh, it's down here. Thank you. I got 34 seconds. Well, did you know I can't read where the clock is?
30 seconds.
Did you know that recently the WSDA changed their rules? It requires every food bank to distribute to everybody without any proof of residency, without any restriction on zip code service areas. And did you know that that costs us our WSDA contract? Because we're committed to serving Puyallup residents, all 155,000 people that live in our 5 zip code areas. But did you know that we don't turn anybody away? We serve emergency and express service to anybody who comes to us. And did you know that we're actually distributing most of our food to our partner network? We have well over 100 partners.
Mr. Mayor, the speaker has reached 3 minutes.
The last thing I'll say is we host the largest summit for service providers that happens next month with over 100 East Pierce County service providers. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Welcome. Sorry about the mix up on time. Next time, I think you'll know where it's at there, and I, I appreciate that. Okay, let's move on. Paul Romich, please.
Thank you, Mayor Castema. My name is Paul Romich. I live in District 1. Before I get started, I want to address two comments that were made last session, as these are good ideas that shouldn't be dropped. Elm Place, the road closed due to the bathroom renovation, proved itself unnecessary, so the city should explore better uses for the space. Secondarily, finding an alternate route for southbound SR 161 traffic will greatly benefit downtown, since a wall of moving steel is incongruent for a community center. This is a bigger ask, but I think we can get it done, especially with the 167 connection finishing soon. Now to pursuit restrictions and road safety. As a vulnerable road user, I'm very torn on the issue of pursuit laws because both sides affect me with dire consequences. As a data analyst, I believe we don't have the data yet to support taking a stance. And as a process analyst, I think the restrictions are trying to solve the wrong problem. Firstly, crime is up everywhere. A large percentage of vehicle thefts, something that was previously pursued by police, are due to two-car brands. Kia and Hyundai thefts are up 1,000% across the nation since 2020. That is because these companies decided profits were more important than car immobilizers, a 100-year-old technology enabling actual children to steal these cars with ease and endanger the public. They put the onus to fix the issue on our police departments rather than recall their vehicles. At best, one can call it wasteful, but putting profits over people, in my mind, is evil. Secondarily, pursuit laws were enacted to increase public safety. In the 6 years before pursuit restrictions, we had 11 bystander deaths in 6 years because of police pursuits in Washington. That is one death every 6 months when you count the COVID lockdown. At this time, we don't have the data to show our streets are more dangerous than before, and if we do, I'd love to see it. I don't care so much about the property law side of things because I can't put a price on an innocent human life. But I understand property loss is not an innocent or victimless crime, and losing one's car can be interpreted as a threat to one's livelihood. But that isn't due to the severity of the crime, rather is a testament to the fragility and inequity of our transportation network. Finally, I think a better solution exists: speed governors in cars. A built-in method to regulate car speed is not a new idea. Currently, speed governors exist and are successful on electric bikes and electric scooters. My electric bike is limited to 20 miles per hour, and it only takes me a couple more minutes to City Hall from my home than if I drove. Regulating car speed is a common sense solution, one that would limit the need for high-speed police pursuits, one that could have saved the lives of the 4 children that were tragically killed
30
due
seconds.
to an impaired driver unable to manage her speed just up on 512 last month. There is no need for unprofessional drivers to go 100 or even 80 miles per hour. And letting people go that fast, even accidentally, enables the danger that leads to tragedies like the Ford Flex on the Hill or the 11 innocent lives lost in police chases since 2015. I want to make it clear I'm not for or against pursuit laws, as I'm still missing the safety data to come to a conclusion. I believe that we must apply data correctly so we can come to the right conclusion. I strongly believe the city should partner with other
Mr. Mayor, the
jurisdictions
speaker is reached.
or lobby our state to hold Kia and Hyundai responsible for the damage they've caused to the public. And finally, a better solution to pursuit restrictions exists in the form of speed governors in cars. And I urge you in the city to support that at the state level. And lost my spot. I know you just had the legislative dinner, but I better reps would love an email from you to support making Puyallup a safer place. Thank you.
Thank you. I try to let a person complete their statement. It's one of these issues of consistency that I treat everyone alike. So don't take it as rudeness if I interrupt you. I just want to make sure that everyone is treated fairly. Thank you for your comments. John Hopkins.
John Hopkins, District 1, my customer, thank you. EIS, what a brilliant body of work has been produced here. It is absolutely phenomenal, hundreds of pages of it. Thank you for all of you who participated in it. The planners have done absolutely stellar job, and Parks as well for their input. And beyond that, it has been broadcast to the public. There's been explanations about it, and we've been invited for input. I've already done my personal input. There'll be more from Friends of the Riverwalk. We're already working on that. Larry Levine with Forever Green Trails, they'll be commenting. Foothills Rails to Trails Coalition will be commenting too. We'll get down more into the details of the routing, but I really want to thank the great work that's been done here, especially by the planning department, Chris Beal. Wow, phenomenal stuff. As public as that's all been and transparent, I kind of scratch my head about the utilities business. You know, not too many people know about the increases. It's been very quiet. Perhaps that's a function of COVID and the more dark days, shall we say, back then. I do recall saying 23%, 23%. Are you kidding me? But not many people seem to get it. And now in our utility bill at the very, very bottom this month, this is what it takes. If you want to read this thing, you need one of these. It is in the finest print that you can possibly imagine. Increases, more increases. I really didn't expect increases of this magnitude. 1.8%. Well, that's fair enough for inflation. Catch up 6%, water 4% sewer. Well, those two, they basically hurt the people who are at the lower income. I mean, it's like a regressive tax. It hits them the hardest. Doesn't hit me. I don't really care. Stormwater, 15%. That's on top of the 23%. That comes out to about 40%. Who does that one hit? That's an interesting question. Anyone with the parking lot.
30 seconds.
Those are the people who get hit, who have parking lots, small businesses. So, you know, if you're a small chiropractor, boom, you're going to go, what? How much? Are you kidding me? Of course, it hits the big people too, but they can probably afford it. So I don't know. I understand why you did it. I really hope you spend the money on roads, though, like Inter Avenue, please.
Mr. Mayor, the speaker's reached 3 minutes.
Thank you. Next speaker is Doc Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I was here last fall, if you'll recall, talking about fireworks and the possibility of having an ordinance prohibiting fireworks. And the reason for that was July 4th, when I came out and looked at the valley and it looked like a battlefield. I would like to address this again. I haven't been to the council because of budgeting, because of the fair, because of holidays. And last week, our last council member, I saw that you had a very big agenda. And I wanted to address this at this particular time. I'm calling it the pets, vets, and fire regulation that I think you may want to look at. There is, first of all, 50% of all the dogs and the pets are within the city and anywhere around fireworks are hit with this. But the thing that I brought up before was the number of vets with PTSD. I have friends that have been affected by that. I have friends that have gone to other countries during the day, during July 4th. I just talked to a friend who wasn't against fireworks if they were public. But when he had fireworks going off in his yard, he hit the ground. I have a lot of vet friends, and fireworks affects them. I would propose, I sent out a regulation to individual council members sending a model regulation that you might look at. And it doesn't eliminate fireworks. It eliminates fireworks by private persons. It allows for fireworks in a public setting with a license. And I think that you'll want to look at the potential of de-escalating enforcement, which is used in Federal Way and other cities that have enacted this type of regulation. And it is very effective in terms of reducing a regulation, reducing fireworks with a regulation. And I think it's very, very important.
30 seconds.
I would like to ask and request of the council that you at least set up some study session in the near future to discuss this, public study session. I know you have these once a month. And I think it's appropriate to put on your agenda so we can at least start talking about this. And anybody that would wish to see the regulation, I'm more than happy to send you a copy of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Peterson.
Good evening, Cheryl Peterson, District 3. I am here representing Pierce County Explorer Search and Rescue. I am the chairperson for our unit. We are an all-volunteer organization. I am asking for the Puyallup City Council to hopefully assist us in finding a headquarters in our local area. Pierce County Search and Rescue, we have been established since 1966. Our unit teaches and trains persons from the age of 14 on up. There is no age limit. Our group is solely volunteer, 100% funded by donation and grants. Our unit is asking for a property that is decommissioned in the Puyallup city limits, either building an old fire station or just vacant land property to make for our headquarters. What we have done in the past, we worked through Department of Emergency Management. Our unit did assist with the mass COVID immunizations at the fairgrounds, the Pierce County Health Department, Tacoma Dome, and many more. We also have assisted with the traffic, with the daffodil parades. We assisted with the memorial services of the park ranger, Margaret Anderson, the 4 Lakewood fallen officers. We have assisted with the sandbagging of the Puyallup and Ording valleys. In 1981, our unit also helped with the Mount St. Helens Lahar warning barrels going into the surrounding rivers. Other cases that we have worked on, which are many, dating way back to the 1970s and 80s, the Ted Bundy cases, the Green River cases. Many youths of Puyallup and Tacoma, Michaela Welch, Misty Copsey, Lorena Jones, Cynthia Allinger, Tika Lewis, Andrea Jackson, Kimmy Daly, Chris Fowler. We've also helped on searches for Sam Sayers, the U.S. Professor Sam Dubai. We
30 seconds.
assisted with the evidence search of the Susan and Josh Powell incident, Oakley Carlson of Grays Harbor, the Seattle Deputy Chief Jay, who got lost in the woods. And we also helped find Alzheimer, dementia, autistic, and developmentally disabled children who walk away from their homes, along with hikers, hunters, and gatherers in the woods. Once again, I'm asking for the council to help us find a property to
Mr. Mayor, the speakers reached 3 minutes.
Thank you, Cheryl. I would just ask that I'm very familiar with your organization and the fine work that you do. Just contact my office and we'll see what options are out there. We are limited too in the approach that we can take with particular property. But, I would certainly like to hear your case in more detail. Okay?
Thank you. We did send letters and we are with the Department of Emergency Management.
Understand. Yes. Thank you very much. Again, please contact me personally as mayor. Okay, you're welcome. With that, is there anyone else who would like to provide comments? Any of our young guests at all? Okay, with that, public comments are closed. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. If there is an item on the consent agenda, there's only one, so I guess it's kind of a, if you want that removed, please state so. If not, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to the ordinances, and this is the second reading of a granting a franchise term renewal for the City of Tacoma Department of Utilities Water Division, and I believe this passed unanimously on the first reading. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to pass on second reading this particular ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, so moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, with that, City Clerk, could you please call roll call?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor King,
Aye.
Councilmember Gilliam,
Aye.
Councilmember Whitting,
Aye.
Councilmember Dorr,
Aye.
Councilmember Adler,
Aye.
Mayor Kestema.
Aye. We will now move on to item 6 on the agenda, titled Other Business. Under that, we have the Puyallup Library Teen Zone update. If we could have staff come forward, please, and give us a presentation. I think we eagerly await the update on that, of which we are very supportive. Please.
Hi there. My name is Nicole Erickson. I'm the library director.
There's Stone Harris. I'm the teen librarian of the library.
So first of all, we want to thank you for your time today. I'll give a brief overview of where we're at with the teen zone planning, and then we'll turn it over to our colleagues at Johnson Architects, and then they'll open it up if anyone has any questions. We want to take the time to say that we are able to move forward with this project because of the generous support from the Puyallup Rotary, who have donated $100,000 for this project. And their name will be memorialized in the naming of the space. Also, the Library Foundation, who have given $10,000, the support of the City of Puyallup, and you, the City Council, so thank you. It wouldn't be possible without everybody. So why do we need a teen zone? Our main goal is to better meet the needs of our teen patrons. While it may seem that we might be designating this space to attract teens, which is somewhat true, the larger truth is that our teens are already using the library, frequently, daily. And at this moment, they have a small and inadequate area that's designated for them. It is of utmost importance for us to be equitable in access, spaces, services, and conduct expectations. Equal and fair treatment for all of our patrons and community members remains at the forefront of our minds. The teen zone is long overdue step in creating that equity. For those familiar with the progression and growth of this idea, you may recall that the teen zone grew out of a community survey and was originally slated to be built behind the adult fiction collection near the study rooms. However, that space was not the expansion we needed, and it came at the cost of impeding access to the emergency exit, loss of the popular study rooms, and challenges in construction due to the sprinkler system. The current design, which we are moving forward with, addresses all the issues I mentioned, while additionally lowering potential costs due to the building design and the lower ceilings where the teen zone will be. And it comes at no expense of space for our other patrons as well. So Johnson Architects have worked with us and key stakeholders and have designed a thoughtful, welcoming, flexible teen zone that they will present to you next. And a quick thanks to Johnson Architect team for their expertise, outstanding communication, and ability to plan around corners. Also, thank you to the financial supporters of this project, to Ryan Rutkowski and Engineering, Stellan, and everyone who has put in their invaluable insight. And we thank the council for your support. And now we turn it over to Monica Zellers and Amber French from Johnson Architects to present the teen zone plan. Thank you.
Just for the members' knowledge here, the architects are on the Zoom and you'll see them on your screen. So proceed, introduce whichever one you would want to go first.
Okay, so we have Monica and I'm sorry, I did not mean to say Monica, Mona and Amber from Johnson Architects. So you can see them there. I'm not sure who is going to speak first, but hi guys.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you, Nicole. I think Amber is going to start us off.
That's right. Yes. Thank you. And thanks everyone for your interest. So everybody, I'm sure, is familiar with this building, the Puyallup Public Library. You'll advance the slide, please. Thank you. We just wanted to give a quick overview of the progress so far. We kicked it off in November. We had a really exciting and engaging teen outreach
meeting at the library, complete with pizza and lots of wonderful feedback that we took back and incorporated into our design development and presented a packet to the library and the city in January. We went in for permit last, I believe it was Tuesday, January 30th. So we expect a process of about 8 to 10 weeks on that. In the meantime, we've been working with our cost estimator to land on a reasonable engineered estimate for the project, and we'll be finalizing the design and the details so that we can go out to bid, hopefully in the next month and a half, in March sometime. Next slide, please. And these are just some photos from the outreach meeting that we had. It was really fun. Next slide shows a little bit more how we went about doing that. On the far left, we sketched out some plan options, so 3 different options, and solicited feedback using sticky notes, and they were very eager to share their feedback. And so we just got them to write everything down, which was a great way to catalog it all. And we used, you can see some colored dots, which helped us to prioritize comments and answer the questions that we had. So we also had some look and feel images, and then we had some specific questions about what do you like, this or that type images. And we were able to incorporate a lot of what we learned. We learned a lot of really helpful information from the teens. And I think that turns it over to Mona to discuss the design more specifically.
Thanks, Amber. We can advance the slide. So we took what we learned from the teens from the outreach event, and we used it to refine this material palette that we're now considering as our final conceptual material palette. It's shown here. It's generally fairly neutral. There are a lot of natural materials, particularly wood, and warmer colors generally, and softer shapes. So we have some felts, a lot of kind of more organic shaped furniture in the space. And then wood is featured prominently in all areas of the design. And then you can see there are some kind of interesting light fixtures that we're also considering. Next. So this is the plan of the new teen area, and it's located essentially where the existing teen area is, but it's a little bit expanded beyond the original extents. This is on the east side of the library, so it's facing the park, and the green area is where the existing teen zone is. We've divided the space into 3 general sections. So there's the teen shelving, and that's it's the same amount that that accommodates the existing collection. And then we have different types of study areas. So on the far left of the plan, there's a enclosed study room, enclosed by glass. And then along the wall, we have study alcoves that have benches. And so it's a little bit more casual, but it's also acoustically enclosed. And then on the right in green is the flex space. And that area has a number of different seating types. There are lounge seats. There is a kind of modular sofa that can be reconfigured in a number of different ways. And there are also study tables. So we can move to the next. We're trying to tie all 3 of these spaces together, really mostly the 2 study area and the flex space, tie them together visually by using the materials in that material palette, particularly the wood. And this idea is showing a wood shelving grid that's being used as a wall and kind of an entrance into the flex space. That wall also has glass behind it, so it'll be transparent. You'll still be able to see into the flex space, but there's just a little bit of an indication that this area is for the teens. It's not for other people. And then you see that wood material coming through in the ceiling and in the walls of those alcoves that I was talking about earlier. And then it comes back again on the far right in the shelving grid. We can move on to the next. And so on the left, on the lower left, you can see what that shelving grid might look like, give you a sense. But this is a 3D view of what we would see looking kind of towards the flex area. And then you can see beyond the flex area are those alcoves and the study area and the shelving. And then next. And this is just looking from the opposite direction. The images show a precedent of what those alcoves could look like. In our case, we've simplified it so it doesn't look quite as geometrically funky. It's more connecting to the language of the grid. And then on the far right of the image, you could see the study room. And then next. And this is what it looks like inside the flex space. And you can see that kind of flexible seating that we're looking at. We know, one thing that we know about teens is that they really like flexibility. And one of our goals through this project is to try and provide as many different ways of occupying sanctioned ways of occupying these spaces as possible. We want teens to feel really comfortable in this space. We want them to feel like this is their home away from home, and they can come here and they can be with a small group, or they can be on their own, and there's a space for them to do what they need to do here. So that is the goal of this area in particular. And I think I'm very excited about this design. I think we're achieving it. And I think that's the last 3D view, and that's the last slide in our presentation. So thank you very much. And I believe we wanted to open it up to questions.
Okay, excellent. Councilmember Dorr has her hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nicole, where did she go? I just had a quick question on the funding. I'm very excited about this project. Super grateful for the Rotary and the Foundation's contributions. My question is it fully funded, or is there how much is left to be funded to make this a reality?
So the whole project will be between 200 and 400,000 roughly is what we're estimating. And so with the $100,000 from the Rotary and the 10,000 from the foundation, whatever is left.
Okay, and do we have that in our budget, or is that something we need to find funds for? Is it in the library's budget?
It's not in the library's budget. It's already been approved, I believe, by City Council.
Tier 3.
Okay. All right, thank you. Great job.
Okay, I have a question. I don't see any other council member as of yet who has their hand up or in queue to speak. Can you remind the public what the rationale behind the teen center is? I say that because we have an expert to my far left, Councilmember Renee Gilliam, is an expert in teen centers. So I just want you to know you better be very cautious in your answer, as she will be scrutinizing that. She ran a teen center for the YMCA, I believe, correct, for a number of years. But again, the community and all of us are very intimately aware of the library. I was involved with the bond to pass that, et cetera. And it's a building structure that I think this town really loves. But can you talk about the benefit that you see accruing to the youth of Puyallup, and what's the genesis of this?
Okay, and you can jump in with anything you want to still, and I feel like I'm doing all the talking here. But right now, as I kind of mentioned, it's, we want to attract all of the teens in the community. We're here for everyone, but we also have so many teens that come in and they don't really have a space. They are just spilling into other spaces and sitting on the floor and leaning on the bookshelves and things like that. So I think that, having that welcoming, connected space for them, I think it's really going to send a message that they are welcomed and that we're intentionally putting out a welcome mat for them. A lot of times people stop reading when they're 11 and 12. It's when we lose readers. So I think that just having teens feel comfortable in a library environment, knowing that knowledge is organized in a knowable way and feeling comfortable interacting with staff. When they go to college later, they're going to have more confidence. I mean, there's just so many different aspects. You know, it's a safe place to be. You know, it's better than hanging outside. And, you know, we also have a lot of programs and things like that for them as well. So it's also, you know, we've also seen teens that didn't really know each other before form relationships too. So it's about connection and it's about community and building that. And really it starts with the space. So did you have anything to add?
No, excuse me. I think you had a lot of it, but one thing I want to highlight is having a teen space will allow us to expose teens to all the services that we have that teens may not know about. I run a book club bi-weekly, or I help run a book club bi-weekly, and I meet teens in there who tell me they've never been to the library before, and they come for this. I think there are a lot of folks who don't come to the library without a reason, and a lot of that is that there are spaces that feel comfortable to some folks and not so to others. And I think by having a space that, as Nicole, is dedicated to them, we're here. The space will help show that there is a place for teens in our library. We can help give them those services and help accrue all the benefits that come with that.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Dorr mentioned a question about price point, which kind of teed it up. Sounds like we got $110,000, and the balance, as I overheard, I think our city manager say, is going to come from tier 3. I'd like to clarify, when the council approved, did we set any limits, or just an open forum tier 3 money, whatever the balance comes in, we're going to pay at tier 3? Was there some kind of a set amount that we knew what we're working with, or is this open ended?
We won't know until the bids come in what the final cost is. Right now, you have over 5 million in tier 3. So there's more than enough money in tier 3, but until the bids come in, we won't know what the final cost is.
But did council even open in bid on that when they voted for that? Wasn't there any kind of a budget that we worked on? Was it open in tier 3? That doesn't make sense that we would approve something without some kind of a ballpark idea, not just that, hey, we got 110,000 and the balance is going to come out of tier 3.
Well, let's ask Barbara Lopez, who is our budget director. Let's ask her what the actual allocation was. Keep in mind that all funds that are approved must come from us. So if we approved too much, then we approve that. It doesn't mean they spend all of that, but they can spend up to the necessary amount of the bid. If they need more, they must come back to us. We never give anybody just carte blanche to do whatever they want to. Again, all appropriations come before us for approval, an elected body.
I agree, Mr. Mayor, but I'm just confirming if no one can tell us what the approved amount that we approved of, I want to find that out. And if we don't know, then we probably need to set some clarity. Otherwise, it's open-ended.
Barbara.
Hi there, Barbara Lopez, Finance Director. There wasn't a specific amount approved. It was when the contract would be coming back or prior to that we would give you an idea, because all we have were estimated costs. So it was an estimated amount that would be coming from tier 3. And I do not recall exactly what that was. But we would need to be able to finalize that, because as part of proving that contract or whatever other mechanism, you're absolutely right. You would need to formally authorize that.
Correct.
So, Mr. Mayor, in conclusion of that, I'd like staff to come back and actually listen to what we stated to make sure if there was any kind of number that was mentioned, sure like to know that. And if not, we should have a serious conversation, because right now we're after the fact if no number was identified.
I'll have staff review that. We did talk about this in the budget session, so I'll just have them review that. It shouldn't be that difficult to see what range we were discussing, and we will make sure your request is fulfilled. Okay. With that, Councilmember Adler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Thank you very much for your presentation. I just want to ask a few questions about the teens, and I very much appreciated the inclusion in this presentation about the way in which you solicited the teens and their feedback. I am curious, obviously I see here in the presentation that there's some highlights from how that session went with the teens, but I'm just curious if you would be willing to kind of highlight a bit more about what the teens are excited about. You know, I appreciated the characterization that right now they're kind of all over the library, but you know, I am curious to just learn a little bit more about how that session went and, you know, your day to day with teens, you know, what's up with them? How are, you know, why is it our library, right? They're not going outside. They're not going to Pierce County. They're coming here. They're hanging out with you. They're hanging out with the other staff members. And you know, what they're feeling.
Oh, sure, I can speak to that a little bit. In terms of the feedback session itself, we put that a bit in advance.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt you. Could you just
Oh,
move
yeah.
forward? So yes.
Is
go
this
ahead.
better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. In terms of the feedback session, we advertised it in advance. We get a lot of teams day to day, but we wanted to give some advance notice that we want their feedback. We did have pizza there, which always draws a bit, but the basic structure of it was that we got a lot of teams, both ones that came because of the advertisement and those that were just in the library at the time. I went around to some of our regulars like, hey, we're doing some feedback for the teen zone. We would love your feedback, and so we all got that into a room. Our architects prepared posters with the posters that you all saw with the design elements, and we basically just had a big conversation about, like, we want to make this space for you, we want this space to be useful, we want it to be a place you want to be, we want this to solve problems you're having. What kind of issues are you having? And some of the common things were like, I want to meet with my friends, but there's one table that seats about 4-ish people in the teen zone currently. There's chairs. We want different kinds of seating. We want to be a bit, we want spaces that we can have like a group and not be exposed to everyone. There was a lot of desire of being able to meet in like a study group or a gaming group and stuff like that. And that's why we highlighted in the design, there are seating configurations that make that possible, because it wasn't something that we could really accommodate well. We did have some study-ish tables in our rotunda area, but it wasn't meeting the need, because a lot of the issue that we encountered was there were different groups of teens that may not always coexist well or want to be in close proximity. And so we wanted to have a space where they could be these groups in relative proximity, but not right up against each other in that same kind of way. In terms of the day-to-day, we get teens, I say like clockwork, but it truly is like clockwork. Every day around 2:10 to 2:15, we get a burst of maybe a dozen plus teens that come in our building. I think primarily because we're close. We're on a lot of major transit lines. We are a safe place, and it's a place that there isn't a lot expected of them. Whereas like school or like work or anything like that, or even home in some cases, there are expectations on teens that they have to be doing something. They have to be engaging in certain kind of activity. And the library serves as like that third place where they're allowed to be, as long as they're following our guidelines and following our code of conduct, they can just hang out with friends, they can study, they can do any of the things that they really want to, as long as they're not violating any of our codes of conduct. I think that's really attractive to teens, because those places are very rare these days.
I would just thank you for what you do every day, and recognizing that all of our children, and particularly teens or youth, you know, things are difficult. There's a lot of stress, and I appreciate the library and the environment for which you have created to be a space for our teens and youth to hang out and be a safe space. So thank you very much, and look forward to hearing more as we move down the road. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Councilmember or Deputy Mayor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight, but I just wanted to say thank you for giving us this amazing presentation. As I'm going through it and looking at all of the concepts and ideas, I understand that the library is currently hosting a lot of teens there already, and you spoke a little bit about that. Can one of you, I don't know who wants to speak on this exactly, but can you just let us all know kind of what it's like right now? Where are they congregating right now? What's the feelings like? What's the vibes like? What can we expect going in there right now? And how can this teen zone truly help our city and our teens and our youth? And just anybody being able to touch on that would be great.
Yeah, I can speak to that some. I think that currently right now, the overwhelming experience of our teens is, as they come in every day, they're competing for space. And as I mentioned, our current teen zone seats maybe half a dozen comfortably, 8 uncomfortably. And that's the only dedicated teen space we have currently. And so a lot of them are congregating in certain other seating areas. And as Nicole mentioned, they're kind of just sort of like spreading out in a way that is kind of unsafe for them, because a lot of them are like on the floor. A lot of them are sort of like crowding together in ways that is less than ideal, and it's not comfortable for them. A lot of the sentiment I get is that they're there because that's a place. It's not a place they choose to be, and in fact, when we have different seating areas open, they will often kind of for a time flock to that. But even that is not really suiting their needs. They're really kind of filling in any space they can, and it ends up being an issue, well, for them, in that it's not really great, because the spaces they're going are like near our history room. There's some seating there, and that has become a popular place, but it's way far in like the back corner of the library. It's hard to see from the desk. If there is like an issue of volume, because that particular area is in a corner, our ceilings are a bit high and that can bounce sound a bit, and we have had some issues with that. But right now our teens are kind of just filling in wherever it is. And I think by having a dedicated place for them, a place that is plentiful seating and is intended for them, and can kind of fill the issue where they're not just kind of filling in any space, where there is a space for them. I think it'll kind of alleviate some of the issues of them competing with space from some of our other patrons.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you explaining to everyone the importance of having a space for our teens. I completely understand. I was in that space of being able to entertain teens for many years, and so and in creating a safe space for them. So I know the importance of that in our community, and I know Councilmember Gilliam has also worked with teens for many years, and this is just a great opportunity, and I can't wait to see what those drawings look like, and try to figure out the budget for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor King. Deputy Mayor King owned Tiffany's, the skating arena. And so I grew up there too, going to Tiffany's all the time. Unbelievably great memories. Anyway, by the way, he wasn't born, I think, when I was there.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, just a note of that. Anyway, Councilmember Gilliam, please.
Thank you, Mayor Castema. I love that the council is very much behind the efforts to help make this come to fruition. I love that the community has rallied to support this mission, to create a space for our youth of our community. And I really am impressed with the current schematics, the current design, and being part of the process to help see this come to be. The previous plan was considerably more expensive than and smaller space. So I think being part of listening and learning throughout the few years that has brought us to this moment, I'm just really impressed with how things are coming. Even as inflation is going up, we have found greater space in the library and more cost-effective ways to use this space. So I'm very excited for what is about to come to be, how supportive the community is, how supported the council is, but also the caliber of staff that we have to support the youth of our community. I guess my question is, trying not to dream too big about this or prematurely, but I'd love to try to get a community teen council to partner, and we do a mentorship and pull them into owning their influence in our community. How do we help youth have a voice? How do we help set them up as our next leaders? How do we create a path to the future with our young people out of our very own library? So I'm going to just try to put my excitement inside myself a little bit, and we'll just get here financially and get it built. And then we'll see about mentorship and partnership and getting them resources they need. If they don't want to be on city council, they want to be in leadership in some other fashion, and teaching them that leadership comes through serving, not through a title. So very excited for all these things, and thank you for letting me ramble, but more than anything, thank you for your heart to see this come to be. So thank you. I hope I don't butcher the name, Johnson Architects, for your time and energy into this project as well. Thank you, Mayor Castema.
Well, thank you. I would, to the architects and to the director and yourself, high praise, I would say, you just received. There is a program called Youth in Government, which deals more on a state level. And I think that after we get this going, the idea, when I was 14, in fact, they had that program here in Puyallup. I was police chief for one day. So you know, as you can see, I grew up here. My brother was mayor for a day. So there were those kinds of programs then, and we don't have them now. And I think that really, I think we need that because the youth that are here today, again, you can see up here that the youth of today become the leaders of tomorrow up here on the dais. And if there are any kind of programs that we can do that would assist that, that would be excellent. I do see Councilmember Dorr's hands up. I think, do you have a final comment or question, Councilmember Dorr?
I just wanted to buttress that and and give recognition to former council member Ferris. She did bring this proposal of a youth council before us in the past. And at that time it was during the pandemic and was not supported. But that is an item that has been discussed. I would support. Spokane has a great one. So I just want to buttress my support for that and also acknowledge former council member Ferris. Thank you. Great presentation.
Okay, thank you. Well, we always like acknowledging her, so that was good. Okay, with that, hearing no further questions, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And with that,
Thank
we're going to
you.
move on to 6B, Tourism Branding Project Update. Our Public Affairs Officer, Eric Johnson, if you'd like to come forward with that presentation.
Hey, good evening, Mayor Castema and Council. Eric Johnson, I am the City Public Affairs Officer, and I'm here to give you an update on our tourism branding project. And I also have Rotator here, talking more about some of the fun things that we've been doing in the past few months. So before we get started, I just wanted to go over the agenda and talk about some of the background. I noticed that we have, a few new faces here on the council, so it might be a good time to just do a little refresher about this project, kind of the process that we went through, and then go into where we are right now, and then give you an update on the website and the visitor guide, which is really the meat of this presentation for this evening, and then also talk to you about the council chambers installation option. So if you recall, this was a council requested item last year to install some sort of tangible representation of the brand here in council chambers. So we've got an update for you on that. And then at the end, we'll open it up for questions and feedback. So some background on this. So at the January 10th, 2023 City Council meeting, Rotator and staff presented the final design recommendation for the new tourism brand, which is Puyallup Always in Season. And really, that was really the culmination of many months, almost a year's worth of stakeholder outreach, community outreach, working with staff, working with council on the branding for this tourism campaign. So the brand is Puyallup Always in Season. At that meeting, council expressed tremendous support for the design and gave a recommendation and direction to staff to move ahead with implementing this. So in February, a month later, we came back to you all with a proposed implementation plan, which included 3 phases to it. And council approved the plan and also approved $100,000 in ARPA funds to really kickstart and get some forward momentum going with the implementation. So we provided several project updates to you throughout 2023, with the last being in September. And we're going to give you just a brief update on some of the things that we've been doing in the past year. So phase 1, which was the downtown banner implementation. You may have noticed downtown on Meridian and some of the side streets, the different light pole banners, and also the cross street banner on Meridian with the 4 seasons. So we recently implemented the winter banner set, which you can see a couple of examples of those there. And we're actually in the process of switching out and doing the spring banner sets, which should be ready sometime this month. And then as also part of phase one, we received trademark protection from the state of Washington. So this was also another council requested item, was to develop a logo usage license. And really what that means is, you know, if say, for instance, I'm a business in downtown or a business here in the city that wants to use the brand and promote the brand, we create a license program where they fill out a form, they pay a nominal fee, and then as part of that, they need to adhere to the logo usage policy, which provides just some parameters behind how the brand can be used in the way that it was intended to be used. So we are working on that. We recently got trademark protection from the state of Washington. Now I'm working with the city attorney's office to draft some language for the license and also the policy, and we'll provide you with a future update on that once that's ready for you to look at. Okay, so where we are right now. So we are finishing phase two, which is the tourism website, purepuyallup.com, and then also the visitor guide, which we have a sneak peek for you to take a look at in a few moments. So the tourism website, so we showed you all a sneak peek of that in September. We got some feedback from you all at that meeting, and so we made some design adjustments based on that feedback at that meeting. The website is now live, and I'm going to turn it over to Kendon right now, who is going to just give you a tour of the house. Let's see. Hopefully this works. All right, here we go.
Very good. Hello, council. Good to see you again. Good to meet you folks as well. So what we've got here, can you guys see that? I see it on my screen, but I don't see it up there. What do you guys see?
You see it?
Okay.
The website?
What? No,
Me scrolling over?
we just see that.
Okay.
Let's see.
We see that.
IT, can you guys help out?
They're taking over.
Yeah.
Stand by.
There we go. Okay, excellent.
Different window. There we go. Okay, great. So here's the live website for purepuyallup.com. This will give us a place for people to land when we eventually go tell the world there's stuff to do in Puyallup, and it's always in season. So we built this and spent a lot of time focusing on the kind of strategy of building this being a base to build onto. So what we see here is just the start. So it'll be plenty more that comes to it later. So you land here, you see this beautiful picture of Puyallup and the clear branding, always in season, and the scrolling is now working. There we go. And so this looks a lot like what it does on our previous one here, our mock-ups and concepts. No matter the time of year, you're always welcome here. This is meant to be a kind of a postcard to Puyallup. One of the things we focused on is really kind of setting the stage. My mouse sensitivity is a little different than this. There we go. So you can see what it feels like to be here in Puyallup, to give people a sense of sort of things. As we built this, we thought about, all right, what do you want to know about Puyallup? Well, it's beautiful. There's things to do. There's farmers markets. Many people, of course, know the Puyallup through the fair. And of course, there is that across the website, as you see. But we also wanted to be able to bring in, there are summer features. And I'm sorry that the window is a little, not quite so tall as maybe. Is it possible to resize this to can you guys still see that or no? There we go. You guys see that still? It just lays out a little better than the ultra wide window. There we go. So spring, summer, fall, winter, this allows somebody to be able to explore here and see a little bit. These are just singular examples of things that would be going on in these different seasons. Our plan is, as we build these out further, to have other ideas, other things we might want to highlight and put out. This will be able to be populated, updated, maybe even scrollable inside of here. But you can see that we have these here. Things like the Santa Parade, stuff that's going on. In case you haven't caught on yet, there's a mountain of things to do in Puyallup. So it gives you an idea of what is here. What I love here is that this is built in such a way that we get to kind of update this content as we go along in the coming months. So I'll give you an example here. Let's go to summer. We'll go to Meeker Days. And this explains just a little bit about Meeker Days.
shows a lovely picture, just a short little bit about it, and then learn more. I'm not going to click on it now, but learn more takes you out to the various websites. So this allows us to kind of put like a micro article, so we can kind of show off with a postcard, but it's mostly linking out to other assets, other entities, sometimes the fair or Meeker Days, etc. That allows you to see here. I want to call your attention to this little fun, what's going on in the weather in Puyallup right now. Make this slightly larger again. I got my little zoom window in the way here. Okay. Heading over to Explore tab. This is again just a start to what it will look like. This is populated by a lot of those kind of ideas. So micro articles about different things that are there. So this is by no means exhaustive, and it isn't meant to be, but is meant to be a postcard of, oh, there are interesting things to do there. If I'm interested, I click through, I see a very similar thing to what I just showed you. Just gonna scroll down a little ways here. There's also where to stay with respective websites out to those different places. I know this is funded by LTAC funds, so it's important that we close the loop there. And also a sense at least of what's nearby. That gives you an idea there. Food and drink. Similar idea and concept where we are showing off here. Oh, nice. There we go. Sure to come hungry. A postcard to some of the featured places. So we have just a couple that are featured here. We're not going to be able to compete with Google as far as like what is there to eat right now or things like that. We're not trying to. We are just trying to show people, here's a few things. This gives you an idea of what is out there. And so there's a couple featured places. Also sweets are always in season. Everybody loves sweets. There's some pastries and desserts. All of this is expandable towards the future, but this is meant to be, like I said, a postcard for people for what's going on in Puyallup. Additionally, and lastly here, events is a start to a calendar of events. Extensive, comprehensive calendars are really, really tricky to run and come up with and keep updated and all those things. So what we've started with here as a start is like here, events all season long. We scroll down, we see what's coming soon, Farmers Market, Washington State Fair. These are the big seasonal ones right now. And we're working and a plan with Eric right now to figure out some of the other places that we need to highlight along the year. This would be an idea. The idea here as it stands is gives me an idea and sees what's coming up next. It can expand further into some more proper calendar as there are enough to fill that calendar. But we don't want to put up an empty calendar that has a couple every once in a while. This allows us to see some beautiful pictures and go, there is exciting stuff. I want to spend some time in Puyallup. So I'll go back to the homepage here. That is the website as it stands now. Oops, that's the placeholder page. I'll go back here. My mouse is stuck. There we go. That kind of wraps up this part here. This is the, again, a starting point for us to build onto. Spend a lot of time thinking about the strategy of what we need to build into, and that's how we've started.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Kendon. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to the presentation. Let's see. Oh, IT's driving. Thank you.
While you're doing that, I have a question. It's kind of an obvious question, I guess, is how do people access this? Does the Puyallup Main Street Association use it? Does the chamber use it? Do you go to the Puyallup City website?
Yeah, so a combination of different things. Yeah, so having links from, the PMSA's website, the chamber, also, external links from our website, and also really getting the word out through other entities as well. So
Is the goal that this is the site for tourism for Puyallup?
Yeah.
So, is it going to compete with Main Street or with the chamber, complement? How does this all go together?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And we'd spent lots of different discussions with the stakeholder groups, including PMSA and the chamber. And I think one of the things that we learned from them is that there really isn't one place to go for tourism. The chamber has some information, PMSA has some information, some of these other places have information, but it's all kind of fragmented, if you will. And one of the things that we heard from those stakeholders is it would be really nice if there was one place where all of it was there.
So they've all bought in. Okay. Excellent. Let's see, Deputy Mayor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I apologize if my camera turns off. It's having issues today, apparently. That said, great presentation. Loved a lot of it. Just regarding the website, the only suggestion maybe I would say as an addition, and it's not a make or break, it's just a recommendation, is you talk a lot about, things to do, food and drink, explore, events. One of the things that were talked about, I believe Mr. Mayor had mentioned before amongst a survey, is that people see Puyallup as a place to gather, place to come for all major events, but also as a place for entertainment. Would it behoove ourselves to put somewhere on there a link for entertainment options? Just an idea.
Yeah, I certainly think that's a good idea. So we could put links to, like, say, the fair, if there's like concerts going on there and so on and so forth, concerts that are going on in Pioneer Park. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, talk about our movie theaters, other things happening at the mall, family entertainment. We have quite the scene downtown as well. Just a lot of different opportunities as far as entertainment goes. I think it would be money well spent if we could advertise some of that on the page as well.
Yep. Great suggestion.
Councilmember Johnson.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I lost my train of thought. Oh, I know I was going to ask. Thank you. I heard you mention some of the stakeholders, such as, Main Street and the chamber, but I'm sure it was implied that the fair is involved in this.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, because
I
they're a
apologize.
major.
I didn't mention them, but
yeah.
yes, they were part of that. Yes.
Yeah. Mayor Castro, I think you're on to something, and I'd like to contemplate before we continue plowing down this road. I think we should continue plowing down this road, but I think it's not too late to evolutionize the end result here. I do think whatever we end up here should be the go-to place for all events in Puyallup, whether we're hosting it or we partner with the fair to host it and we feed into that. Whatever the case is, it should be the go-to place. If I want to know what's happening in Puyallup, we're going to look here, and it should all be tied together and not be fragmented. So I think you bring up a really good point, and I hope that we are continuing to evolve this to where this becomes the go-to place. And I think the Washington State Fair probably is the biggest one to partner with, whether they absorb us in there as part of a sub or we bring them into this. We got to have some way to merge that, because they are probably holding the most events, period, in Puyallup. And we want to tag all the people that want to go to those events to see the other ones while they're down there. And so it's spreading the tourism, not just there, but the other parts. They may come for that, but they may want to go over here and join this one. So I do hope that we're kind of evolving this along the way till we can have one consolidated Puyallup kind of events page or calendar.
And just as a housekeeping item, that we've got some other items to talk about, but yeah, we can take feedback on the website right now.
Okay. Councilmember Dorr, then Whitting, and then Adler.
Thank you. So Eric, I like the website. I do agree with some of the comments from my previous colleagues. Things that I see missing are like the Liberty Theater, the Northwest Sinfonetta. Those are, and we'll talk about this when we get to the brochure. I don't see things. I want to see things that I want to do. And the other question I have is this Purple Mountain. I thought that we had a conversation about the mountain in previous council meetings, and the fact that we didn't understand why we have a purple mountain and not a blue mountain. It seems like so I'm surprised to see the Purple Mountain back. Is that going to be changed, or what happened there?
Yeah, so we did make a change to that, if I recall, and actually you just, reminded me of that. We had a discussion about that, I think at the stakeholder meetings, and also one of the council updates is like, you see this purple mountain, and, I actually talked with Lance, and I think some of the background behind that is, trying to invoke some of the Americana into that, oh, purple mountain's majesty, that kind of thing. Was kind of the, sort of the inside wherewithal with the color choice with that. But to answer your question, we did update that graphic to include snow on it, because one of the questions that the stakeholder group said is, what is that? Is that a mountain? I'm not quite sure. Is that a hill? What is that supposed to be? So it wasn't immediately apparent that it was a mountain. So we've updated that graphic to put snow on it to make it more
Is it
make it
still
more
purple?
obvious that it's a mountain. Yes, it is still currently purple.
I thought council gave direction that we didn't like purple. I could be wrong, but I thought that we asked that be changed.
Yeah,
You are correct.
We'll have to look back at our notes, but I believe what had came through was, there was just sort of some confusion on what is that? We're not quite sure. Can you make that more obvious that it's a mountain? So we've worked with the team over at Rotator to kind of adjust the graphic accordingly to make it look more obvious that it's a mountain. And actually what you'll see is with the winter banners that got put up, we have introduced the snow on the mountain to just really make it more obvious to folks that that is indeed a mountain, and we're referring to Mount Rainier. So, and actually one of the things that actually brings up a good point, that really, when we developed this brand and the brand style guide, we spent many months with the stakeholder group really carefully crafting out not just the iconography, so the graphics that you see here, but also the color palettes, and making sure that the color palettes were evocative of the different seasons. So making sure that the winter colors were, wintry, and the fall colors were fall colors, and spring and summer and so forth. So really it was, that was, the color choices that you see, not just for the mountain, but also the other icons. That was kind of the crystallization of many months of stakeholder feedback that we got, making sure that the color palettes were what we wanted to really be at the base of this campaign, which is always in season, all 4 seasons, and making sure those color choices are appropriate.
Okay, so I'm not sure if this is you had mentioned the banners. So I'm gonna say my visitor's guide feedback to that section, but it was interesting to me when I drove by yesterday and saw light up Puyallup or whatever with Christmas lights, and I felt like we are that person that didn't take down our Christmas decorations. I was like, okay, it's February. Why do we have Christmas up? And we had that conversation about, and I know that Councilmember King and I both said, don't put up the fair banners after the fair, but I saw that they went up. So I appreciate, and I love the idea of the seasonal banners, but we also want to be relevant. We don't want it to look like we just forgot to take down the Christmas decorations in our city. That doesn't scream vibrance downtown to me. It seems, if it screams we forgot downtown.
Yeah, so that's a good point to bring up. So our streets department is actually in the process of switching those out. So actually, I think like last week and this week, they've been getting out and putting the spring banners up. So of course, that takes time. So, it takes a few days to do. So hopefully we can get those finished in the next week or 2.
Okay, so I like them. I just happened to be sitting there. I thought, that seems a little bit strange. Anyway, I would like to, if you could please look back into the mountain, because that's not my recollection. I do see that it's better, because I know that it was a different color and we were concerned about the emojis on your phone and what it could look like. But okay, I'm going to be done for now, and I'll talk about the visitor's guide when we get there. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Councilmember Whitting.
Yeah, I like what you've got here. I think we've made a lot of progress on this project. Just one comment, and it's not an immediate something that we want to do right away, but I love the idea of harnessing power to do more than one thing, and I think about the chamber and the number of ribbon cuttings and other kinds of things like that to promote our small businesses, and I would love to at some point to have those kind of ribbon cutting things. If a new restaurant opens up in town, let's feature it here and partner with the chamber, keep abreast with the chamber of what's coming, who's coming, and then help promote them and get those businesses off the ground and get people coming in to partake of whatever they have to offer. Thank you.
Councilmember Adler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't going to comment on this. I wasn't here when the debate of the mountain color was debated, but I would just say, for me, it would be important to ensure that we are showing respect towards Mount Tahoma as it was originally named. And that's something I just want to be very clear about. The other thing I was going to say, Eric, it says the website is now live. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yep.
Because when I just tried to pull it up, it said the landing page is still there, coming soon.
Yeah, so the basically we're saving that piece for after this meeting.
Okay. Just make sure that on the footer of the final website, the contact information is updated, because I caught that it's the jargon that the system puts in, or the code puts in.
If it wasn't published earlier, that particular piece actually I updated this afternoon, just the final little bit there. So
yes,
you're one step ahead.
That's a good catch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember King. All right, Deputy Mayor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too concur with what Councilmember Dorr mentioned regarding the Purple Mountain. I would agree that we need to make it a bit more blue. Regarding the banners, she's absolutely right. We need to be more on top of making sure that those get changed out, so we're not Cousin Eddie leaving our Christmas lights up. And we need to be better neighbors that way. Also, I do like Councilmember Whitting's comments regarding featuring businesses that are new to Puyallup, partnering with the chamber, but also keep and be mindful of those businesses that they may not be members of the chamber. And I think even that may be the case, we should also feature them regardless of their membership status. So we need to be mindful of that. But I'm ready for part 2. How about you?
Seeing no questions, Deputy Mayor King, your recommendation is goes forward. Please.
Okay, well, that's a perfect segue into tonight's second act, which is the visitor guide update. So we are providing with you a first look of the visitor guide. Now, this is just a working draft, so just full disclosure, this is not the final version that will come out, but this is just a first draft for you all to take a look at, digest a little bit, give us some feedback, and then we can compile that into the final version. And I apologize to our virtual participants, Councilmember King and Councilmember Dorr. I apologize we don't have a print version for you, but we can arrange to give you a print version at a separate time. So this is a brochure style visitor guide. If you open it up fully, it includes a stylized map of downtown Puyallup and also part of South Hill. And it's really meant to be a high level inspirational content. It's not meant to be sort of this laundry list of different things. It's really meant to be sort of a visual, I'll use what Kendon likes to say as a postcard. It's really a teaser to get people to want to go to the website to learn more. And so the intention being that we can print this and have it available at the Chamber Visitor Center, the PMSA office, our hotels, at the fair, downtown businesses, and also any other places where visitors would want to learn more about Puyallup. So I'll go ahead and let you all take a look at that, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next section. And we'll have a chance for feedback at the end if we want to do that. So one of the other things that I wanted to bring before you was the council chambers installation. So this was a council requested item at the September 2023 update we provided you all with a few options for the what could be installed here up on the wall in council chambers. Council had requested 2 new options from us, so Rotator has 2 revised options for you to take a look at here, and we're seeking feedback from you all on which option you would prefer. So we've got option 1 here. I think what we heard loud and clear at the last update is we're going to take sort of the mullet approach, business in front, party in back, I believe was what we heard. So we've got the main city logo up at the front, and then we also have the horizontal stacked version of the Puyallup Always in Season logo over there on the side. And then the second option is just slightly different. We still have the main city logo centered in the front right there. And then we also have a secondary mock-up of the logo right over there, Always in Season Puyallup. So next steps with this, we're going to be seeking direction from you all on the preferred chambers installation option, incorporate your feedback into the visitor guide that you have before you, and also the website, which the feedback you just provided. And then we're going to wrap up phase 2 and begin phase 3, which is the advertising campaign, which we received some LTAC funds to do this year. And then we'll be providing you with future updates as we move along in 2024. And then we open it up to feedback and questions.
Okay, I believe the order is Councilmember Dorr, then it is Deputy Mayor King, and then Johnson and Gilliam. So Councilmember Dorr.
Thank you. So Eric, I want to look at the cover to the visitor's guide. And I spent a lot of time on this weekend trying to figure it out. And I'm going to go back to one of the comments I made initially, is we are talking about vibrant downtown Puyallup. And when I look at this, if I was going to pick this brochure up somewhere, I want to know what I'm going to do there. And so I don't see things to do. I do see the pieces of our heritage, and I get that, and I like that. But I don't know that that's going to, if I saw a concert, as was mentioned before, or something that makes me want to pick it up. I don't know if this is it. And for me, I love the mountain. And every time it's just such a feature. And I talk to people that live in different places that have lived here. Do you miss it? Because it's important to me that mountain is blue. That is what we see. That is it's a majestic view. I don't know how else to say it. And I think we've highlighted it in our view corridor. This is such a beautiful, backdrop to our community. I hate purple. So I just really would like to see that blue. I was confused by the car because I didn't know if that car represented our auto dealers or was it trying to represent a car show? Because I don't really know what it means. And I don't know if that is a river or if that is a road with the light in the middle. And then I don't know what the bird represents. I mean, if it has some special meaning or if it's just nature, I don't know what that is. And the coffee, I don't know what the random coffee is. So I'm struggling with the design, the elements there, and whether or not they achieve their goal of making someone want to pick this up. We looked at the other ones back. Some of the other versions had the dress from the 1960 or 50 McCall's pattern. It didn't. We are trying to revitalize downtown, so I'm really confused. It seems like we keep choosing things that don't reflect that. So I don't see vibrancy here. That's what I want to, my personal feedback is I want to see something that's vibrant and makes me want to take action, makes me want to go to Puyallup. So that's where I struggle with the imagery.
Okay.
And then other ideas, the Meeker Mansion is not here. The Meeker Mansion is part of the history, and it is something to do. And it's going to become something to do, as we've heard the people, I guess that was at the Main Street dinner, but we've heard from Shelley Schlump all their plans. That is an action item. It makes me want to do something, makes me want to go there.
And so just so that I'm tracking here, so you're still talking about the cover of the visitor.
I am talking about the cover because you have to get somebody to pick it up.
Mhm.
What's going to make me pick this up when it's muted and old? You know, I love the heritage. I get that piece of it. You're trying to tell our story, but it still doesn't tell me. I don't know why I would pick this up. It's not telling me, it's not driving me to, oh, hey, look, I could go do this. The Ferris wheel is probably the thing that would drive me the most because I would understand the fair. So I'm not, and maybe I'm missing the point. So that's, I could be missing what you're trying to accomplish here, but that's, I sent this out to people this weekend asking for their feedback. What do you think? Am I missing it? And the feedback I got was not fabulous. But like, again, it could be that how I am messaging that, you know, maybe I'm not understanding what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
But
no,
I do think,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I just, you know, South Hill Mall, City Hall, the library, Meeker Mansion, all of those places, I know that you will consider as far as to locate them. And we've tried to connect, there's been lots of talk about connecting the mall with downtown. They have their information booths, and I've seen like the chamber has their areas. So I think that it would be important that we cross-reference here. Well, there's no mall here. And I know that that's not historical, but it is something to do. We had David Montevedo come before us at Small Business Saturday and said, please don't forget about us. So while we're focusing on the downtown core, there is District 3, and there is a large shopping mall here that I don't find on any of.
If you open up to the map, it actually includes the location of the South Hill Mall in there and also the Meeker Mansion. So just to clarify that is included in this draft here. So I don't know if you've got a copy of that in front of you, but
I have the PowerPoint is what I have.
Okay. So yeah. So in the actual map itself, or the visitor guide, it opens up to a full page map, and it includes different locations that you had mentioned. So Meeker Mansion, the South Hill Mall. And really, we did that intentionally based on what you just said. We want to make sure to include these different attractions that bring people to town. So that was very important that we included that. So again, I apologize. You don't have a physical copy. We can get that for you so that you can, take a look at that further. But really, I wanted to bring up something that you had mentioned, regarding the cover, is that cover needs to shine. It needs to give a good first impression. It's kind of like when you're a guest at a hotel and you walk to that front desk, and it's that first interaction that you have that can make or break. And so it's the same thing with the front of this visitor guide. So really, that's why we're having this discussion right now, is to make sure, did we get this right? This is just a working draft, a first draft. And so we'll be going back and working with Rotator on really dusting this up, polishing it up, and making sure that this is going to shine.
And so can you answer, what was the car? Is that a river or is that a road? I don't know what it is.
I believe so you're referring to that graphic that's next to the coffee cup. That's the river.
Okay, that doesn't scream river to me. That looks to me like Wildwood Park Drive, the curvy road. I think we could make that look, if it's supposed to be the river, I think it can look like that. It shouldn't be ambiguous that I don't know what it is. And then like the cup of coffee, okay, that's not unique to Puyallup. We have things that are unique to Puyallup. You can get coffee on any corner. I don't know. So I guess I'm just not quite understanding that. And when I was talking about the mall and those other things, that's also as far as having the print copy available. That's where I was saying that those are other locations that that they could be. But I do want us to be cognizant of that. But moving on I'll give you my feedback now on the council installation. I really like option 2. So that would be option 2 has my support moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor King.
Ding, ding, ding. Round 2. All right. Earlier you mentioned that you guys, and I say you guys all collectively, whoever were a part of the design of the and choosing the Purple Mountain as the idea. You had earlier mentioned, Eric, Purple Mountain Majesty, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
And obviously I get the idea behind that, behind the song and to be Americana. Does anybody that designed this know where the Purple Mountain Majesty came from? Colorado Springs. That's not Puyallup. So, not to be a buzzkill here, but we should probably change that to blue for sure, because Purple Mountain Majesty refers to Pikes Peak in Colorado Springs. So that's where that comes from. So that's number one. Number two, I like the concept of the options for the signage in the council chambers. Well done on there, and great options to choose from. I too am leaning towards option number two. However, if anybody is paying attention to the seal, you guys did listen, and I appreciate that. And you changed the daffodils from the star daffodils to actual daffodils on the seal. So well done. And now Steve has to change every single seal in the building to the new seal. Now, with that said, the height on that, I like it. I would bring it down so it matches the bottom end of the TV. I think it needs to be bigger and more pronounced on the wall. Looks a little wimpy in my opinion. But maybe now that you kind of poked around with the daffodils, maybe we need to start poking around with the rest of the seal a little bit. But I do love it. I love the option 2 overall, but I'm not settled on the seal quite yet. But I do like the new daffodils that were added and the stars that were pretending to be daffodils removed. So that's a good move in the right direction. So I know Steve's like hiding underneath the desk right now. I think I see. Is that true? No, I'm just kidding. No, I appreciate that. Well done on that one, but change the mountain to blue, please. The end.
Okay, Councilmember Johnson.
Sorry, I'm on Zoom. I had to.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So let's just get the easy one out of the way first. Option 2, contingent. Slight contingent. I actually like the option 1 in terms of the clarity. The verbiage is really strikes you. Puyallup, always in season, just a really crisp, but it's kind of a little bit dry. But I like the circular, the design, the big flower on this one. But so I'd like option 2, contingent, that always in season's a little bit larger, and maybe Puyallup's a little larger. So it's crisp, because 1 you can really see. But it's just a little bit more simplistic design. But if we could just increase the font on that, and enlarge that a little bit, at least, especially, the always in season, Puyallup's pretty clear. The angle, I love the angle on that. Love the big daffodil. So if we could increase the font on always in season, I think that would be just a knockout home run. In terms of the brochure, I'll just state comments. First of all, thank you for all your work, and realize now that you're hearing feedback from 7, various people who all going to have an opinion. So it's like herding cats. How do I figure out a way, what you all want? So I certainly don't want to add to that, but taken as a grain of salt, as you're hearing, you can weave this together, and you don't have to listen to every one of us verbatim individually, but collectively try to find a theme between us. I would like to say on this brochure, retool it with this in mind. Less is more. If I want to read and get all the details, I'll read this, but quite frankly, I'm going to scan this. I'm going to skip over probably 95% of it, and I'm not going to read it. It's just too much. So I would think less is more. So I'd like to see consolidate this somehow. And then one idea might be is now the big thing is the QR code. Yeah. So you want to, and I see you have that in the back, and that's great. But what if, just hypothetically, let's just say outdoors, rather than having a whole big long paragraph on outdoors, for all outdoor activities, current activities, scan the QR code. It takes you to all the live outdoor things happening within that season possibly. So again, just think about that. Less is more, how you do that. This is where you get paid the big bucks to figure that out. But I just think it's almost a little bit too much information. And then just a real strange thing. So if this is the front and the way it's folded, I open it up like this. And then my next thing to do is go like this and flip it up. And when I flip it up, the map's upside down. So just a little nuance on that, small little nuance.
Yep.
And then the last thing on the front cover, Councilmember Dorr had some good points. I think on this one, I just want to, call out the elephant in the room. I mean, and the biggest draw probably for events in Puyallup is the Washington State Fair. We are fortunate to have us in a small town. We get to host the Washington State Fair 2 blocks away. And so with that in mind, just thinking, I almost think it should be the dominant pictures on the front that attract our attention. Maybe the Ferris wheel, maybe the roller coaster, maybe something that it calls it out. Doesn't mean that we're all inclusive, but let's not downplay. That's just it's been around for 100 years, 1901 or whatever it is. So I don't think it would be a stretch to say that's the bulk of where a cover may be, and then have some nuances on the inside. But those are kind of my interesting thoughts. And again, I have a complete confidence that you'll be able to take all the herded opinions from 7 council members and be able to come back with some unique ideas. So this is not criticism. It's just really initial feedback, not to downplay anybody's hard work, but just to refine and define and concentrate and make it even more efficient and so forth. But anyway, great presentation, great start, and looking forward to the fine tuning it more.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Gilliam.
Thank you, Mayor Castema. Wow, lots of hard work. Just want to take a second to recognize, well done, Eric. So one of the things you guys may not know about me is that now that I'm a teacher with Puyallup School District, when I first got hired on, I was the Karshner Museum field trip teacher. And I taught Native American history to all of our 3rd grade students with the focus of our local Puyallup tribe. And on the very back page where it says about Puyallup in the 2nd paragraph, it says Puyallup, which is named in honor of the ancestral homeland of the Puyallup tribe, translated to generous people. So in Lushootseed, which is the language that the Puyallup tribe speaks, Puyallup is enunciated Spuyallupaj, which means people at the bend of the river. And our reputation is generous people. So not to get too much into semantics, I think I would like it to say the reputation of rather than translated to, just to be more precise in honoring the Puyallup tribe. So just to put that in there.
Okay.
And then if I were to mention the Purple Mountain, I would also like that to be blue. And then as far as the options go for the chamber, I personally like consistency. So whatever we have on the front of our flyer is what I would like for our chambers, but that's just one woman's opinion. So I'm totally not attached to either option. I just like consistency for the community. Thank you.
I realize if I would have known anti-purple, I would have changed the color of my tie for tonight. Sorry about that.
Councilmember Adler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate Councilmember Gilliam's calling out the back of this pamphlet. That stood out to me, and so I appreciate her getting in front of me on that. It's very important. And that also echoes back to my earlier comment about Mount Tahoma and ensuring that, we're also being respectful of that mountain's history, because it has its history on its own, especially with our First Peoples. So I have to say, as one of the newest members of the council, I followed this work for the proposal to update the council chambers throughout last year. And I am so glad that this was elevated by the past council, because I have long hoped that the city would do something with these white cream walls behind council. And in a past life, I had the honor and privilege to spend a lot of time in various city halls across Pierce County. And I did some research last night, and DuPont, Lakewood, and Fircrest all have, whether it's a seal or it states their city, behind their council and their council chambers, they all have that very prominently displayed. Tacoma does not have any font or seals posted, but they do have their city flag with the American flag and a few other flags, like the Puyallup tribes, behind them, posted very prominently. So I am, again, I cannot overstate how much I think that this is overdue. I very much like option 2. I would agree with Councilmember Johnson and his comments regarding the secondary logo, if you will, for Puyallup Always in Season. I'm sure that it would be silver. Is that?
As far as like what it's made of?
Or just the color of the
color.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it's
It's
the
actually
font color is white, is it? I can't
Yeah, it's
recall.
white. That is like ink on wood.
Yeah.
Is the current plan. So it's not silver, but it is, so it's white as far as that goes.
Okay.
And additionally, it's also quite large. I don't remember the exact measurement. But we're talking that whole thing is 7 feet long. So it's quite large.
I only ask about the color just because I don't want to lose it with the color of
Oh,
the
with the
wall.
color of the white. Sure.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and regarding the size, it's kind of difficult to tell because the shot was taken so far away.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it'll be quite large. Yeah.
But again, I think that this is long overdue, and so I appreciate the hard work, and I appreciate you taking the criticism, or as they say, the deltas. So thank you, and look forward to seeing all this come to fruition. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Whitting.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate all the work you've done on this. My comments on the front cover of the thing. I think we really want to have it attract people downtown, and the mountain in the background really, people don't come to Puyallup to go to the mountains. So this may be a little premature, but I find the pictures of our festival, our upcoming festival streets as being very attractive and something that I would like to come and participate in. It's the graphics for that are really good. So something like that, it is premature, but maybe something like that would feature the farmers market. That's a big draw to this town. A lot of people come to the farmers market. But some of those things, as opposed to just the daffodils and strawberry. I think those are strawberries, but maybe tomatoes. I don't know. But so that's my comment on that. In terms of the council chambers, I like the option 2 as well. I'm going to do a drastic disagreement with council member, with Deputy Mayor King. I like to have the seal at a different level than I like the pyramid structure as opposed to everything in a straight line. So that's just my personal preference. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess I'm the last one here. I frankly liked it when I first saw it. There are some things, I mean, I don't think I have to. By the way, you probably forgot already, but the mountain should be blue. That's probably, and see, I don't really mind it being there, because one reason, after traveling around the world and trying to live other places, one reason that drew me back home was the mountain. I couldn't live without seeing that in the landscape. And I think that it is a potential real tourist draw. So I like the mountain. I may not like it in purple. Frankly, I don't really care. Purple, blue, it doesn't bother me. That's a goldfinch, by the way. That's our state bird, just so you know that for reference. You know, the cup of coffee conveyed to me cafes, you know, or a little bit of sophistication. Maybe you put a little swirl in that thing so it doesn't look like just a Folgers coffee, but instead looks like an espresso. That would probably convey that better. Those are strawberries. I know that. I picked those as a kid. I could spot them from a mile away. I see that. I love the texture of the paper. I will say this, when I open it up, I love the texture because I don't see brochures like this. Usually they're slick, you know, super slick, something like that, or heavier. And like I would probably choose it if I had to do it because I just didn't know better. But this somehow feels, I don't know, has a nice feel to it. I like it. I'd like to keep it as opposed to toss it. Um, However, I have to tell you, when I open it up and I only see 11 sites, in all of that space, I'm thinking, oh my God, there's not much to do there. I mean, it really is just, you got to be kidding me. All this empty space. I think we need to get in my car and drive around. I could fill this thing up. Okay. We got to work on filling it up because I look at it and I'm thinking, oh, good. Why would I want to go there? I mean, there's hardly anything and I got to walk 5 miles to get to each one.
Yeah.
Now, I will have to vociferously disagree with my colleague to my right. She won't like it, but it is Mount Rainier. It is acknowledged in all the atlases, all the maps that it's Mount Rainier. And they, professor at UPS went through the whole explanation of Tahoma because lawmakers did debate this at one time. And I was back in that era. It never actually got before me. It all ended before I got there because the research had shown that Tahoma had actually, this was a term used for a large mountain. And it could have been other mountains they would refer to as Tahoma. For example, they call a site of it Tahoma, but it wasn't compelling enough for them to change any of the various atlases or maps that are out there. And you will not find that. Mount Rainier is on all of them. And I think if we're going to be a staging point for tourism, we have to use Rainier because that is the undisputed, at least from a legislative perspective and on our books, there's been no change in law. It is still determined to be Mount Rainier. I think we should stay that way. Now, your argument may someday carry weight, but thus far it has not. Okay, you're going to debate me on this. But I would say that I would, you know, that's a very endearing force in this community, and it is known as Mount Rainier everywhere. So that would be my only conclusion on that. I hope I haven't lost a friend. So with that, Councilmember Adler, if you would like to provide a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. I am very aware and obviously have followed that debate. That was not my position in sharing that background here tonight. That was just a point to make. We have Mount Rainier, and that is where I end. So I hope that you will not want to continue to debate that in the future in the public here or beyond, just because unfortunately, I know you like to debate sometimes, but unfortunately that was not the position I was trying to take or the road I was trying to go down. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, I think we've provided enough input. You know, I could tell you what option I want, 1 or 2, but all the vote is universally number 2. So, you know, that sounds good to me. Okay, I don't know if I could.
All right, thank you.
Provide any more input on that. So is there any more questions that anyone has?
Seeing none.
Okay, if not, let's move on to the final points. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
And we're now going to move on to the city manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Just a few items I wanted to brief you on. One is that each year the state auditor does an audit of a particular segment of our finances. And so this last year, The state auditor looked at our federal COVID dollars and how they were spent. And I just wanted to report that the audit has come back and found that we've met all the compliance requirements. And that covers January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022. It's quite an effort, this audit. And just so you know, every city in the state of Washington does this. So it's not just Puyallup. This is something that is standard. And so I just wanted to acknowledge our finance director, Barbara Lopez, Dondi Kester, our accounting manager, and Christy Grotto, the financial analyst, who did a lot of work on that. Second of all, wanted to just briefly update you on our code enforcement and the derelict housing ordinance that you all adopted last year. It was something that staff, legal department, Joe Beck and Sean Arthur, and then Shane Perrin, our code enforcement officer, did a lot of work on and identified 5 different derelict properties within the city, and were able to use the ordinance that you adopted to basically have public hearings on these and be able to move them towards basically declaring them as derelict, which then furthers our ability to take action to remedy that. And so we've already had, of the 5 that were designated, 2 have already been demolished voluntarily by the property owners after the order was issued from the public hearing. And then there are 3 left, and we will be focusing one in particular that council had mentioned up near Woodbine Cemetery. And so we'll need to get some bids to determine how much that would cost and the legal action, and be coming back to you and asking for some budget allocation for that. So just wanted to update you on that. And then lastly, the council retreat is coming up in about a week and a half. And then after that, your regular meeting on the 27th, February 27th. At this point, some of the main items, there may be a few other items that are added, but one will be the library will be back doing their strategic plan. Pierce Transit will be here talking about the state of local transit affairs. And our city engineer and public works director will be presenting on the CIP budget and some staffing recommendations. If you recall, in the budget last year, one of the things that council asked is, we've adopted this new rate structure, we've adopted the 10-year plan. Now staff go back and figure out a staffing component to get those projects going. And so we'll be here on the 27th to present a couple options to you on that. So that's the extent of my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. Let's move on to City Council reports. I'll start with Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a report, as I understand Mayor Castum had mentioned last week to council and those that were present, that I had the opportunity to go to DC and represent to our elected officials, specifically our Congresswoman Strickland and Senators Murray and Cantwell, to meet with them and to talk about more than just a meet and greet, but some possible ways to partner with them for some funding for our city. But before I talk about that, I wanted to just take back, reflect back. I remember one of our former mayors, who I respect deeply, Mayor Kathy Turner, had come to me numerous times over the years and said, hey, Dean, you really need to go back to DC and engage your elected officials on the federal level. And I always kind of, listened, but kind of discounted the importance of that, and on a personal level, and didn't really take the merit of how helpful that may or may not be. But I continued to hear her and listen, and finally the lights went on in me, and I thought, I really need to act on that. So anyway, had a chance to meet, a sit-down meeting with Congresswoman Strickland herself personally, and with one of her staff members, and we discussed a series of 2 projects that Puyallup was working on, and then I also met with a senior staff member with Senator Murray, and a series of 5 staff members with Senator Cantwell. So it's quite an entourage of staff members. She sent the whole crew in there. And I want to reflect, Mr. Mayor and Council, just kind of my personal sentiment. It was an opportunity for me to be Dean Johnson, even though in some small way I was representing myself independently. But I think in terms of some of the projects that I had brought up to them, I think it reflects, for the most part, at least the majority of council. But one of the first things I stated when I met with Senator Cantwell's staff, and they're sitting around the table, I said, I want to start out by apologizing. And their mouth just kind of dropped open and they didn't know where I was going to go with this. And I said, you know, I've been on the council for 8 years. And of those 8 years, I was mayor for 2 of those years. And I need to apologize for not reaching out to connect with you on behalf of our constituents that we share here in Puyallup. And it just floored them. And I wasn't really planning on saying it. It was just kind of came to me inspirationally. And I think at some point it distinguished, you know, that we have room to find common ground to work together. And by kind of being vulnerable and kind of admitting my lack of engagement, I think perhaps put Puyallup in an interesting seed of maybe acknowledgement in the future. And so I made a commitment to them that I personally would reach out and continue dialogue on behalf of the city as council and the mayor direct me on any topics. I do want to thank Mayor Castema for providing a letter of talking points that we also arrived from our city manager and our state lobbyists about 2 specific projects, which we've already applied funding for. One is the Shaw Road Extension project. You may be aware that we had applied for a RAISE grant last year, but missed it. And it was a $13 million grant. And we came very close to getting it last year, but it wasn't enough to push us over to receive those fundings. And so I thought this would be an appropriate time to find a way to leverage and tip that so we can get it this year. And so I had reached out to each of those elected officials, and I got overwhelming strong support that we will get a personal letter from each of their offices to support our getting that $13 million rate grant. It's my understanding that last year we came awfully close, according to our city manager, that we received in terms of that grant a project of merit, So we came very close. In other words, what they're saying is you came really close, apply again. And so I'm thinking with another application, which we're going to put in, I understand the city's going to put another application this month. And we're working with Mayor Castema to put together a letter, maybe with adding some of the other signatures of some local jurisdictions to, again, tip the scales, and we'll get that 13 million for our Shaw Road project. So I think that was helpful. I think it was productive for our city and for our constituents. And I believe that should help us perhaps get that 13 million. In regards to the other thing I talked about, they seemed enthused. First of all, they were very enthused about the 13 million. They were, all of them were very excited about supporting us on that. They had lukewarm support on the next one. I did ask for the Festival Street that we're working on, and a request to ask for 3 million. Now I understand that we have or had asked from the Puget Sound Regional Council for 3 million, but we didn't get funding for that. And so I asked them to consider some ways to uniquely support us on that one so that we might attain that 3 million for the Festival Street that we're talking about next to the Maker Mansion here on this other project. So I feel that I walked away with a sense of pretty high assurance that we're going to get support, that at least one of these, I think, may help us attain that grant with their partnership and support. And then, Mr. Mayor, I'll speak with you offline. They gave me some good insight on what we might do to specifically on the PSRC grant to include some verbiage in there that might help set that up and look even better for this year. So all that being said, I had a very meaningful 2-day meeting with each of those on 2 days I was there, and I trust it will be productive for our constituents as we get the support to get us the funding for these things. That's all I had.
Thank you. I'll make some comments regarding that in Mayor's comments. Councilmember Adler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would echo much of what Councilmember Johnson had just shared about our federal delegation. We are very lucky to have a strong federal delegation that advocates and represents us well. And I am very pleased to hear that in particular, the Shaw Road project was brought up. I know a thing or two about Congress, and I think that there is a real opportunity there for us to work with our delegation and come in strong. So thank you for sharing that and having those important conversations. A couple of things I just want to highlight. It was very exciting, and I'm very grateful that this council had our Black History Month proclamation. I hope that that is just a step, the first step in, continuing to engage and, not just let one proclamation, cover the important work that we need to do to continue strengthening relationships with our Black community moving forward. So I really appreciate council coming together on that. And I really appreciate folks taking the time to come this evening and be a part of that. It is really heartening to see so many folks come out. So thank you for that. I'm sure other council members are going to mention the Main Street Association's annual meeting and dinner last week. That was a wonderful time to get together and hear so much good work happening throughout the downtown, and frankly, just how strong our downtown businesses are. What it was really important to me since the last time that we met is I had the opportunity to do a ride along with the Puyallup Police Department, and in particular, Officer Chief, help me out, Alfaro, very good, on the 26th of January. And that was my first ride along. And I have to say that was, if I could do that once a week for the rest of my life, I feel like I would probably become a police officer. That was one of the best things in my entire public service career that I have done. And I would encourage as many people as possible to do. What I witnessed from our police department, and I was out for about 5 hours. What I witnessed was, the utmost professionalism, empathy, heart, concern, and, just the consistent wanting to do the right thing for every individual involved. And that was, just amazing. And I saw it all. The calls that were responded to during those 5 hours really ran the continuum of what our officers have to deal with every single day. And I really am grateful for the opportunity. And again, just encourage folks to see if you can do a ride along and engage in that conversation. We have some innovative stuff that's going on with our police department. And again, I cannot say thank you enough. And it was just a terrific evening. I look forward to getting out again soon for a different time frame. But again, thank you, PPD. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for those comments. Those are wonderful. Councilmember Gilliam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to piggyback off of Councilmember Adler's wonderful comments about the Puyallup Main Street Association annual meeting. It was my first one, and I get to be the council member that is the liaison or sit in support of their great work for their monthly board meetings. And all I can say is we have a rockin' Puyallup. I'm very proud of their work that they have and how they collaborate and network and to support our local business and our local economy to help keep Puyallup strong. I'm going to give Councilmember Adler praise yet again. She has inspired me. On February 9th, I get to do my ride along. So that's this Friday. So Chief Engel is like, yes, Councilmember Gilliam, give me some dates and we'll see what we can do. But I'm going to be going from about 7:15 p.m. to midnight-ish. So I'll fill you in on the activity. Also, I had the opportunity to be part of the Puyallup Sumner Chamber of Commerce Blue Scarf Society annual gathering where they kind of had their graduation ceremony and celebrated all the great work through women mentoring and coming alongside other women for business. And I'm really impressed with the mentorship model that's being done with the Puyallup Sumner Chamber of Commerce under Tara Enneking. And I'm really looking forward to being a mentor and learning from my mentee, because a good leader is there to serve. So Puyallup is really beautiful, and the citizens in our community and our businesses, we really do care. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how our businesses continue to work together to collaborate and build each other up and lean in for the greater success of our citizens. So thank you, Mayor Castema.
Thank you. Councilmember Dorr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will echo both of those comments. I'm the old person on the female side. Both great programs. When I first came on council, I did ride-alongs with PPD. And if you have an opportunity, I think it's already underway. The Citizens Academy, I learned so much from as a new council member. So I do appreciate the efforts that Chief Engel and his staff put into making sure that the public has access and that we are educated. I learned so much about Puyallup, and I still do. Every time I've been out on a ride along, I learn something new. It's a great opportunity, and I've been with the Blue Scarf Society for a couple of years. Got partnered with a great person as her mentor, and we do have a lot of fun. I want to give a committee update on Central Pierce. I was going to do this on our last meeting, and we had time constraints. So there's a lot going on in the fire department. One of the things, and I told you previously about their sustainability initiative. And so they are focused on refurbishing their equipment and their buildings. They're looking to decrease expenditures that way to increase services to our residents. And one of the ways that they're doing that is looking at the closest unit responding to a call. Instead of just being dispatched from the fire station. If there's one closer, they would like to use that. They have Ording Valley Fire and Rescue entered into a contract for services with Central Pierce. And so Central Pierce and Ording are operating as a single fire agency at this point. The contract for services requires a vote on a merger by the end of 2025. On January 22nd, Graham Fire and Rescue and Central Pierce boards had a joint meeting and issued a policy position statement for consolidation. And so I will just tell you it was unanimous on both sides. I did attend this meeting, even though I don't vote. I wanted to make sure I could report it back. So it says the Central Pierce Fire and Rescue Board of Fire Commissioners formally acknowledges that the Graham Fire and Rescue policy position statement on consolidation that was adopted by their board on January 22nd, 2024. And the Central Pierce Fire and Rescue Board of Fire Commissioners has determined that it would be in the best interest of the community to explore the option of consolidation through merger with Graham Fire and Rescue. And the Central Pierce Fire and Rescue Board of Fire Commissioners' definitive interest would be to merge the two fire districts into one organization with a new name, a new organizational brand, and a new organizational culture. And that the Central Pierce Fire and Rescue Board of Fire Commissioners considers a merger to be a top priority for Central Pierce Fire and Rescue staff. And in furtherance of this policy position statement, directs the fire chief and staff to implement and/or support the following steps towards consolidation. 1, explore an April 2025 ballot measure where the Graham Fire and Rescue citizens are given the opportunity to vote. Explore an April 2025 ballot measure where a consolidation via merger would become effective January 1, 2026. Provide monthly progress reports to the Board of Fire Commissioners. Continue work efforts and progress on existing regional collaboration efforts. Continue to explore new regional collaboration efforts while focusing on educating the community, proactively communicating with the membership, and nurturing existing collaboration efforts. So that's the big news there. I was just told today that the Ording Valley Fire and Rescue is considering aligning their date with the Graham date. So an April 2025 ballot measure. On other news, they have, I think I've reported, but I don't remember, that the fair board unanimously supported Central Pierce having a long-term lease on fair property and building a fire station on the fairgrounds. So they are looking at that. They are not considering giving up the Armory property. They currently are using that property for medical physicals. They do all kinds of the same thing that I'd have to ask Chief that we approved for our officers, the cardiac, fitness, their life physicals. I don't remember what it all includes, but they use the Armory property for those physicals, for overflow training, storing apparatus. They will not be running calls from the Armory property. The administration is located at Benaroya, and Ording Valley is also at Benaroya. They've been working on various consortiums, and one of their initiatives is that they are training together. I'm trying to remember who's all in the training consortium: West Pierce, Central Pierce, Ording, Graham, and I think East Pierce. So they run academies jointly. They run training, the training academies, and each of them can participate. They're trained the same. So if they're at if they're providing mutual aid, whatever, they're able to interact seamlessly on scene. That the axe is the same place on this rig as it is on that rig, that they're laying out their equipment the same. So that's a long report. I suggested to Chief Morrow and Chief Espinoza, who is the Graham Fire Chief, that they come this year and do a presentation before the council to answer specific questions. And they both said that they would appreciate that opportunity. With that, I think I've talked enough, and let's make that mountain blue. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Whitting. Just a couple of items. I'm not sure everybody here is aware, but Puyallup has been hosting a climate conversation for some time now on a quarterly basis. Councilmember Palmer was kind of the brains of that locally, and with him moving on, I've kind of accepted the mantle of being involved in that steering committee for those climate conversations. And I just wanted to make everyone aware that the U.S. Congress has passed the infrastructure bill some time ago, and that provides for a lot of funding for electrification and EV charging stations and that sort of thing. And under the umbrella of the climate conversation and that work, there's the opportunity to partner with some other cities and with a minimum of effort on our part, I believe, perhaps get in on some of that funding to make some things happen here in the city. And similarly, in my work with SHAPE, South Sound Housing Affordability, Attainability, Accessibility Partners, there's a capital fund there that is funded by House Bill 1406 monies, which several cities have decided to partner there, and because the dollar amounts aren't substantial, it's difficult to get the critical mass to really make things happen on some of these capital projects. So the cities that are participating have put in about a little less than $300,000 committed for 2024. The county has agreed in concept to match that, so that the capital fund would be about $600,000. We have a significant amount of 1406 monies at this point uncommitted, and we could participate in that at some point. And with some of our projects coming forth, having some affordable housing in the Cornforth Campbell project might be an opportunity to provide some affordable housing for some of our citizens and do that in a constructive and fashion that would
benefit our city and do it in a way that's attractive and nice and set a tone for the future. So I just wanted to make my council colleagues aware of those things, and if anybody has questions, I'd be happy to take them or have a discussion at a later date. Thank you.
Councilmember King or Deputy Mayor King?
Man, I'm getting no respect over here. No, I'm just kidding. Feel like Rodney Dangerfield. No, I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. As a new member of the Flood Control Advisory Board, I believe that's what it's called now, or that it is called. Nothing to report there. A new member of the Puget Sound Regional Council as well. Things are still ramping up there, and continuing member of the Pierce County Regional Council. Looking forward to another great discussion there with all of the other city leaders throughout the area. Looking forward to fighting once again for some dollars for our city and seeing if we can't get some more dollars in our reserves so that way we can work on some very important projects. So nothing else to report. Just very honored and humbled to be in this position and be able to represent our city. Thank you.
Well, thank you. My comments I'll keep fairly short this evening. We've far over past the 7:30 deadline that Councilmember Johnson had staked out for us. I apologize. Someday I will hit that, I promise. I just would like to, however, dovetail off Councilmember Johnson's trip to Washington, D.C. You know, the city of Puyallup, our taxpayers pay a lot of money to the federal government in income tax. And we have a duty that we go back and we get our fair share of those funds for our transportation infrastructure, for other needs that we have in our community, because the fact of the matter is that other people are doing that all the time. I am very, very, very pleased with this council and the level at which you take the seriousness of the assignments that you've been given on the committees. I've heard really very good things about our members' participation on the various commissions, committees that are out there. And again, it's part of our job representing the people of Puyallup. They're raising their families. They're, putting in a long day's worth of work. And, we do the same thing. Many of you do exactly that same thing. But we have that duty to kind of go above and beyond and represent them in a lot of these very important areas. And I would encourage the members to go to DC because we're talking about millions of dollars that sometime can be impacted by really you taking fairly inexpensive red-eye flight back there, staying in a, acceptable, passable hotel while you make your visits. And that translates into the people of Puyallup who pay those federal dollars getting some of those funds back. So it's kind of your job in many respects to represent people wherever, you have to the benefit of the people in Puyallup. And I'll just end this. The city manager mentioned that we received another award for our financial acumen in Puyallup. And if you've ever gone to the budget director's office, you'll see a whole shelf of trophies that identify that we have a stellar reputation, budgeting. And then I saw in one of our offices that we had the same thing. We have received all these awards. And I think it's important, and I've gone to other cities that do this, that the people of the city, when they pass through to the chambers, actually see these awards. We work hard. I mean, the employees here, council members, we've implemented great strategic planning. We are very diligent. We really want an efficient, high-value government. And when we win these awards, I think the people of Puyallup won the awards. That they won them because they elected us. They put the pressure on us, and I think we need to show that off. So, I would like for us to consider, and I will do more homework on this before the proposal is all inked out. But I'd like to put a trophy case in this lobby, like other cities do. Bellevue does this. When you walk in there to the left, they've got an entire area that does nothing but show all of their trophies and their plaques and all the awards that they've received as a city, because they want to show off to their population that, listen, we've worked really hard for you so well that we stand out amongst other cities. And these are the rewards that you have won. So anyway, I'll get back with all of you on that. But with that, unless there are some dying comments, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much for this evening. Adjourned.